that any members have, committee members. So first, actually, we're gonna have a presentation by Broadway Mall, and then we're gonna hear from Transportation Alternatives, okay? So, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. if you
Andrew
don't-
again.
Andrew,
yeah.
Andrew, and I'm Kristen.
Nice to meet
Say
you.
that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we do have slides, but
Yeah, just take you one
Yeah,
second. I'll get
excellent.
it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm the new executive director of the Broadway Mall Association. We have a lot of changes. We also have a director of development that started. So I started in June, and Donna Abrelitz started in July. So it's a pleasure to be here. I wanted to talk about, kind of our programs. The first,
I can't get it in quite PowerPoint format, but
Oh.
this is, but we do have it now.
yeah.
Yep.
First is exciting because it's, you can see it live. It's actually happening on 83rd Street. It's called the Great Greenway. It's the total restoration of a mall, which hasn't happened in many decades. And it's with native plants. And we're very excited because a local donor helps support this program. We have a full master plan for the malls to convert them to native plants. This is one of the test malls that we've created at 83rd Street, and we have signs there so you can check it out. And honestly, if you want a tour, just let us know, the committee, and you can actually walk in the mall, which is really cool. So we are also doing one on 164th Street as well. So those are the two test malls, and we're learning a lot. So all to say is that we hope we're going to be bringing more volunteer opportunities so people can work on the malls in the future, partnering with Goddard Riverside, and with a lot of support from Councilmember Gail Brewer. The other thing is exciting, and we have our newest public sculptures up. The last one is going in Saturday morning. Pro tip, the riggers are coming Saturday morning around 8 o'clock. They'll probably be there half the day to put in a 20-foot high piece. This is by the artist Sean Scully, who's a Irish-American artist, world famous, world renowned. You'll see one of his sculptures at 79th Street, and one at 72nd Street, and then soon one at 64th Street, 7 in total, and we urge you to see them all. But what's really cool is we have a K-12 curriculum that was created by Teachers College for all of the local schools, and it will go live next week. This is a hard copy. It's a beautiful, they did a beautiful job. And it really is for all different age groups. Sean Scully is mostly a painter, but he made 2 sculptures just for Broadway. So we're really excited about this. And so we wanted the committee to know, we want to get the word out to all of our schools in CB7, 9, and 12. So that's why I'm here today. And, this curriculum itself is self-explanatory for any art teacher or social studies teacher. But, if anyone has questions, we have full support from the artist and the gallery that put this on. So that's what I wanted to share with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. How many blocks does this mall cover?
Broadway Mall's
That would be my question.
70th Street to 168th Street. So it's, we take over at 70th, Lincoln Square bid has from 60th to 69th Street. And then we do everything else. We have a license agreement with Parks. We just got a grant from the state for $500,000 to do more of these restorations, the Great Greenway. So
It's grant money and money from council people.
yes. It's a mix of capital and expense, but we also have foundation grants as well, private foundations, because about 90% of our funds come from private donors and individuals and buildings up and down Broadway. So yeah, so the organization started 37 years ago. It was a group of volunteers. Bob Hermans, who's been on the community board, they started just to take care of these spaces. And I think most people know about it because of the benches, the end caps, as we call them. We'd like to paint the end caps. We like to have children's art on the end caps. That's all part of our program. But it's a big resource, and it's a park in the middle of Broadway. And our goal is to connect it more to the people through art and through horticulture and volunteer activities.
There's a structure, the 96th Street subway station.
Yes.
The northern, what used to be the entrance, is that a part of the Broadway Mall program?
We have done, right now it is not,
Okay.
but the Parks Department, and we are working towards that goal, and I
Because they
should
used
say,
to have
yeah.
indoor programs, it was quite exciting.
yes, yeah, and that's our goal to do that again
Okay.
as well, yeah, and Parks has been wonderful, by the way, they've really been
So
supportive.
it's ostensibly like Parks land.
Yes,
Parks
it's
is
on-
in charge
yeah.
of those medians, all right.
Yeah, but they gave it to us in like 1984 and said, take care of it, fine, raise money, you know, so like, so, yeah.
Now,
So
this Scully, was this written up in the Times, his latest, the one that's going up at 83rd? I
we're,
thought I read about it.
oh, if you did, then
You'd be
Yeah,
happy.
we had an article in the West Side Spirit, which is
No.
almost like the New York Times. But
I thought it was written up, it would have been the Sunday Times, because I
Okay.
only get the weekend.
I will look into it, and
Yeah.
if you stump the band, then I will be happy to be stumped.
Check on
Yeah,
it, because
yeah,
it was quite a splashy thing.
yeah, okay,
I could be wrong.
yeah, I hope you're right, okay, thank you.
And I spoke to Jesse about the outreach to schools, so it sounds like you've reached out through the district and to like,
We're just, well, Jesse is giving us a hand there.
Yeah.
We can't really go live until that last sculpture goes in, because the
Oh,
curriculum
right.
is all tied to each.
With having all of it,
Yeah, it has to
right.
be. But I think next week we will, and
Mm-hmm.
again, any pro tips from the committee would be appreciated.
right,
you know.
I think Jesse was connecting you with the CSD three
Yes,
folks, yeah, because they would have the biggest reach, because they have the whole district.
yes, yeah, we'll talk to the superintendent. That is our plan, and we
Yeah.
can kind of get it out there. Yeah.
That's great,
Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting,
Yeah,
and I've seen the new one at 79th Street,
yeah,
yeah.
it's neat, it's
It's
elegant.
cool, and I
Yeah.
like that we have like evolving art, like it's always changing, it's always interesting.
Yeah, so this runs through March, and then we'll have a new artist in April or May. So we're gonna try to rotate it.
Is that the planned cadence to
Yeah.
every 6 months or so?
Yes, but please give us comments, about, when if you see anything that you like, or,
Is the expectation to keep them at the same locations, or is it?
Doesn't have to be, no, like, for instance, we've had at 96th Street in front of the building, and it's kind of a nice little showcase area, so, yeah, we'll try, it depends on what the artist thinks, a lot of times they get a feeling for where they think that it'll be showcased best, so.
Well, I hope you get it back, or whatever, make the arrangement, because it was very popular.
We want to do workshops there, we want to do, drawing and, other kinds of activities.
One thing that this neighborhood doesn't complain about.
Is the public art or BMA or just, yeah, okay. We want to keep it that way.
Yes.
The mall being maintained and
Yeah.
looking beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a labor of love and, but by all means, if you see something that shouldn't be on the malls, just let us know. We did plantings at 96th Street by the subway. Some of the varmints ate the plants, so now we're gonna go back and replant them. But, it's learning, by,
Right.
yeah, experience.
Varmint proof.
Varmint proof, yeah. Yeah, but Parks did go in and do some treatments for us. So again, they're a great
Right.
partner for us. Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is cool. This
Thank
is
you.
really good to know.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Thank you for
for
your
the stuff. I have
Yeah.
cards for,
Here's your
I'll
card.
I'll bring them down this way and say, and you can use that phone number if you, for good news, but if you have bad news, you can email. Yeah.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank
I
you.
don't know
It's really
what's the next-
interesting.
I'll hang out over here. Yeah, thank you.
Don't waste your card.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys can join us at the table. We'll have this peanut gallery there. There are not that many people.
Park Avenue driveways from expanding.
And did everyone sign in on this? Yeah, thanks. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for remembering, Kristen, to remind your committee.
I'm disabled.
Oh, I got you. Give me one sec. And now you should be good.
Okay.
Yep.
And then transportation alternatives, doing a presentation that we will likely do a resolution out of. So let's see what you think as far as crafting that. Thanks, guys.
And I believe we had the draft resolution up on the website as well.
All right.
Okay, so hi everyone, we're from the Youth Committee at Transportation Alternatives. And we're gonna talk about a plan that we've been working on for expanding Citi Bike for students. So we're hoping to, or we've been advocating for a $5 plan for students because currently Citi Bike is very overpriced. We feel, and it is really hard for students to have access to getting around the city in a cost-effective and efficient way. So, yeah, we really think that it's important that kids are able to bike around the city and get where they need to go for school and all sorts of other activities.
What's kids? How do you define?
So
kids?
we'll get to that. Yeah.
Right.
Someone else want to go?
Oh, yeah, there we go. So, there's a need for, better transit because of frequent bus delays, and train delays, as I'm sure you're already aware of. And there's also not really a secure place to store bikes at school. And even at where people live, they often don't have a place to store bikes that's secure. There's stories about people who have had bikes stored somewhere in their apartment and then they've gotten stolen. So there's just a lot of problems with using your own bike. Some people can make it work, but a lot of people can't. And so since biking can often be the most direct and efficient way of getting around, and there's already a program to have SNAP recipients and NYCHA residents getting $5 a month Citi Bikes. We thought this was a good plan for the city to adopt.
Yeah, so we're really basing this on the idea of what the current system is in place for NYCHA and SNAP residents. SNAP, yeah, people who get SNAP or live in NYCHA housing. Because right now they have access to a $5 plan, which seems to work very well, and so it would essentially expand that to students as well. Yeah.
Okay, the city bikes that we see,
Yeah.
long lines of them.
Mhm.
Is that privately owned currently?
Yes.
And is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Or you're talking about something else?
Yeah, the Citi Bike stations that are there. Yeah.
So those are the bikes.
Mhm.
Now you're saying there are the people who are getting $5, whatever, NYCHA, and you mentioned
Yeah.
SNAP. Who do they work through to get that accommodation?
So that's with
So I'll jump in here.
Yeah, sure.
So Citi Bike, or Citibank, Lyft,
Is it Citibank?
sorry, so,
Citi
sorry.
Bike?
No, so
No.
Citi Bike, is affiliated with Lyft. Lyft,
It's
runs
owned
and operates, Citi Bike. It's loosely affiliated with Citibank. I think it's just like branding, but the entity that funds and subsidizes the $5 per month memberships for NYCHA
SNAP.
and SNAP is Health First.
Okay.
Health First.
So you have to make the application through health first. $5.
I believe that applicants can fill out like the same way that you would fill out
The
a
same way,
Citi
yeah.
Bike membership.
Uh-huh.
I think there's an option to check if you qualify.
Mhm.
And then you just have to show proof of either residence or
Financial
SNAP.
need and stuff.
Mhm.
And then you can go with the schools can do that. They help set up these
Yeah.
applications.
potentially,
Yeah,
yeah.
potentially. That's definitely something that we're looking into.
Like at the high school fairs, college fairs.
I mean, they get Metro cards, so they have to fill out
Right.
paperwork anyhow
That's
for
true.
that. They might as well fill out paperwork for this as well.
If this should go through, would it increase the space that Citi bikes take up on streets now? Because that's a bone of contention.
No, it would,
We do not need more bikes and more stations.
well, yeah, I mean, Citi Bike, stations are really well used because there are constantly bikes in and out.
Right,
So, it wouldn't really have any direct
they wouldn't
effect on,
increase the number.
no.
Okay.
So I mean, it's using the existing infrastructure
Okay.
that's in place, that people are already using, for
Are
these
there,
bikes.
just like from user experience, are there a high abundance of those located near schools? If there's gonna be an influx of students that are using them, do you know if that
Yeah.
infrastructure is already in place, or are you gonna have to, still walk 10 blocks or something? Just practically
Do
speaking.
you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up the exact statistic,
I think
but we had our
You
research
said
team look into
60%
it.
of New York
They're
City
close. Okay.
schools are like within
I think,
like 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
of a-
and I think we look
City Bike.
specifically at high schools.
Yeah,
I can pull that statistic in a second.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's just more like a curiosity, because if you're gonna have an influx of students using it, you wanna have facilities nearby. If they're not nearby, sort of defeats the
Yeah.
purpose.
For sure.
But then, of course, that would be something potentially looking at expanding it, so to making sure that there's space in school grounds.
yeah, I mean, obviously, we really hope that it can be well used by students. And yeah,
Now, you mentioned a $5 membership. I don't know what people are paying now, but is that per what? $5 per what?
so it's a
$12.
membership that allows you to use Citi Bike.
Is it a month or?
Yeah, it's a month.
Yeah,
a month? And unlimited usage?
Yeah, I believe the current membership for unlimited is like $200 a year.
220 a year.
220 a year.
So it's really unaffordable for a lot of students to have access to it as it is.
Yeah, and do you know what the monthly is? Cause it's like higher than the
There's
220
no
per
monthly
year.
plan.
Yeah, there's no
It's a month.
currently a monthly plan, yeah.
So you have to spend a minimum of $220,
Or per ride.
Or per ride, which is
yeah,
exorbitant.
even more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And is it 20 per ride?
$5 a ride for 30 minutes, and then it charges.
That's what I would, $5 a ride
Is what it is now.
For 30
for
minutes.
30 minutes.
And that's for a
yeah, so if
standard
you're
bike.
using it more than like
Yeah,
10 times or something, like it already makes more sense to get the $220. So it's, I mean, that's why we're really working on this, is because it's so inaccessible for so many students.
Do you guys mind if we quick go to Egor?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, he's got a hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just checking. It works out to, I think it says $18.3 per month for,
Yeah.
like, it is billed annually. I had like two quick questions. You mentioned that the current plan is paid by Healthline, you mentioned, which I assume is a nonprofit.
Health First.
Yeah, first.
Health First. And would this expansion be paid by them as well?
No, so this proposal is really at the extent of we are, and I think a lot of our questions might be answered further on in this presentation. So, I kind of like want to preface that, like, there are some slides that address these things. But this proposal is at the stage where we're trying to gather, like, widespread support for this initiative. We understand that like DOE, DOT, Citi Bike, they're all going to have to come to the table and make some of these decisions that are like beyond the scope of really what, our students can identify themselves. But what we're asking for today is support and acknowledgement that this would be a program that we want to see access, that we want to see 16-year-olds in high school and like students at CUNYs have access to, because there is just like a really high rate of economic need that has been shown within New York City public schools. I believe like on average, it's like 75% of students are demonstrate economic need. And at CUNY, 50% of the student body across all CUNY institutions are come from households that make less than $30,000 a year. So it's we have this like great economic disparity, and Citi Bike could be a really efficient way for these youth to get through the city. and to the places that they need to go.
I also wanted to clarify because I think it was you who asked what the age would be. So currently Citi Bike is only for people 16 years old and 16 and older. So we would continue with that because
Older, what's the max?
120.
that's it. So
So you maintain that 16.
So yeah, 16 years old, 16, 17-year-olds in high school, and CUNY students would be able to benefit. And so, yeah, I mean, okay,
Oh,
sure.
do you
No,
wanna-
that's fine. Yeah, so just a bit about us is we launched our campaign in February 2024. And we've gotten over 800 petition signatures already, and growing. We've contacted over 80 schools and organizations, and we are planning on presenting to really as many community boards as we can. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to talk
Do
about.
you have first an insurance company?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we can move on. Yeah, so there's some of these questions that people may be wondering about with safety. We do want to enforce helmet use and bike etiquette, and we will require cooperation from all of the different groups who are necessary for having this lower Citi Bike cost. And we also believe that there should be public funding to support this program because there's not enough private funding to support this type of program since it would not generally produce more profit. Yeah. Students deserve better and more affordable transit. And the benefits are numerous and the risks of this can be mitigated and reduced. So, yeah, I don't know.
What are some of the risks?
Yeah, so I feel like we in our past community boards that we presented to, there was definitely a lot of concern around how do we ensure that, you know, students remain safe on bikes. You know, we know that our streets can be chaotic at times, especially during, you know, rush hour when students are on their way to schools. And so we are currently working with Bike New York, and their education director, Rich Conroy. He's working with us. He's gonna have a couple of sessions with us beginning in November so that we can start crafting what like a bike etiquette course could look like that complements this type of program. Because we don't want students getting on bikes and getting hurt, you know, like, and we want to make sure that, right, and we want to make sure that, you know, everyone who has access to Citi Bike also has access to a helmet. So there's definitely concerns around, you know, being on a bike in a busy city. But we're trying to mitigate those concerns and risks, with this proposal as well.
Now, let's just say $5. Let's say we've reached that stage. Who would it go to?
What do you mean?
Who would a member be paying the $5 to?
It would still be Lyft, the company that owns Citi
Lyft.
Bike. Yes,
Okay, and Lyft owns the bike.
yes.
Okay.
As far as, you know, I was someone, a New York City public school student, and I definitely took advantage of an intervention. I used the resources that are available for low-income students and stuff like that. And I remember the Metro cards were limited in terms of the number of uses. I don't know if that's since changed.
No,
Yeah,
actually.
it's gonna
Wait,
change.
it has,
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
has as of
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I just got my own card.
Okay, yeah.
and I'm very
Because
happy.
I remember that being an issue, and so I would assume in a similar vein, the object here would not just be to limiting it within a certain number of hours or certain days of the week, but to open it
Yeah.
really through the entire.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, this is like a full Citi Bike membership,
Mhm.
like
It's just-
what everyone else has access to, yeah.
And then I definitely like, I appreciate you anticipating the safety questions. It's something that I know we hear often, I feel like in every group, because particularly in this neighborhood, you know, proximity to the parks, you know, safety goes both ways, right? There's the safety of the cyclists with respect to vehicles on streets, which, you know, can be very difficult at times. Then also it's the cyclists and pedestrians, and particularly in those heavy intersections where, you know, we have shared space like
Right.
parks and stuff like that. So I think if there was, you know, it's a great thing you're talking with people who are experts in this, but just keeping that in mind, I know it's a concern, that's a heavy concern for this community where we hear it on both ends, both safety for cyclists and safety for pedestrians from cyclists.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking, they just expanded the program for student subsidized Omni cards for NYC Ferry.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So it seems like aligned with that, right? Like access to all of our transportation.
Do you happen to know who it was that subsidized the New York City?
I
Or
actually
is it just the
suspect,
city?
I've seen the
Yeah.
ads for it, like to sign up for it. The sign up is through NYC Ferry and the sign up sheet is actually hosted through your your New York City Schools account,
Okay.
which is on the DOE website. Like you have to go in there
Right, right.
and have your OSIS number and all that to sign up.
So I guess it's some sort of collaboration
Yeah,
with the city and.
exactly.
The
I
city
think-
already funds the ferry too.
Exactly.
Right, so it might just be an expansion.
I think
Thanks for bringing
it's
that up.
probably through NYC Ferry, but the NYC Ferry is subsidized by the city.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we think that, you know, it's great that students are getting access to more transportation options because, you know, like, the ferry and Citi Bike, hopefully, and, the subway and bus system, because, that allows students to get to school, in a, you know, faster way. You know, their commute requires them to walk 25 minutes to the train and then another 10 minutes on the other end and, you know, things like that. So it really enhances how students are able to get to school and live and experience the city as well. So
You have a question over there?
Yeah, did this apply only to public school students or all students in New York City?
I believe it would probably have to be public school students. So essentially like, you know, anyone who would have access to, you know, the student Omni card.
I think private school students don't.
I think they do get.
Oh,
I
they
think
do?
Private school, I
Yeah.
believe all
What's that
students
design?
qualify for
Really?
Omni cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your answer.
So it would just follow that same model.
Yeah, I think we were mainly concerned about like whether, you know, if this program ends up being funded by the city, whether that funding could then be allocated, you know, to private institutions. But I think, I mean, we definitely are in support of all students.
Yeah.
But not sure if that will end up being the trajectory just because of like ultimately the decision makers and the policy makers are, you know,
Because your
city
first side had,
officials.
I think it was just DOE and CUNY.
Yeah.
So excluding not just private high schools, but also private colleges and NYU.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and some private universities do actually have
Their own.
their own programs, like NYU has a $5 Citi Bike membership program as long as you enroll with the credit union and have a credit union account, which is really interesting. It's really cool. I mean, yeah.
Now, your Omni card, well,
Yeah.
everybody has. There's no minimum age limit for students. It's not just for.
Not
Okay,
just for us.
Right, it is
elementary school kids can,
middle
below
school.
16 is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Middle school, yeah, so I think the Omni card is middle school and high school students. And yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point. I don't know, the current model of Citi Bike is one where, and I think it might be New York City law or New York City or state law, where the rider has to be 16 or older. I don't know, the discussion about changing that, I think is kind of out of the scope of what we're talking about. But and I guess up to further debate as well, but yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I'd point out to add to this is I know not all schools will let you store skateboards at the school, and that's like come up a bunch. And that is like a viable, if you're not too far from school, alternative, but if you can't stash your board in your locker or somewhere safe on the school property, that option's eliminated as well.
Right.
So what do you mean the student should then just bike?
Well, they haven't, was one thing that students, like my student wants to skateboard to school, and she's not allowed to store the skateboard at school, and you're not allowed, they're big, right? So you're not allowed to carry it around, so like, you're out of luck, you can't get there on your own.
Really?
She, like many students, would not bring her own bike, A, because a bike would cost us money, B, we live in an apartment like everyone else, so where would we store it, and then C, where would she store it at school? Like, the Citi Bike would be such a better option than trying to deal with your own bicycles.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see Egor has his hand raised and has for a while. We're sorry.
Go ahead, Nico.
Not at all, thank you. I'm not in a rush. I had one comment, one question. The comment is just I wanted to echo the kind of the safety concerns, and thank you for kind of putting it at the top of your list. I know I used to install Citi Bike, though a little less than I used to, partially because I do sometimes feel that in certain areas it can feel a little dangerous. So I would definitely kind of emphasize that this would be a great opportunity to, like you said, educate students, maybe push for other solutions to the issue. It's very complex problem. I know there's not like one single answer, but I definitely want to echo that. The question I had is just in terms of logistics. I know one issue I've had, and I kind of might foresee with this program, is if you have lots of students kind of taking Citi Bikes from lots of different stations, and they all come to a few hotspots, meaning the schools, are there enough docking stations for them to park it? Because I think that might end up being the bottleneck. And have you either done any sort of like estimates whether there are enough docking stations to do it? And if not, are there any plans to kind of work with Lyft to say, hey, if this program goes through, can we put more docking stations in the kind of school hotspots?
Yeah, so we have thought about it, but really that's also out of the scope of what we've been thinking about. Obviously, we hope that it is so popular that students are able to have access to Citi Bike at a cheaper cost and be able to bike to school. And yeah, we don't want problems with bottlenecking the Citi Bike system, especially concerning other riders. We don't want that to be a headache. But really, that's something that Lyft, as the operator of Citi Bike, should be dealing with. And there are various ways that they do that, right? They have people who are hired to move those Citi Bikes around as they are needed. And they have the Bike Angels program, which allows people to do their own, like an incentive program for people to move those bikes. And they also use valet programs where they have someone stationed to collect extra bikes so that there is basically unlimited bike parking if that is needed. So hopefully that Lyft is able to respond appropriately to any major problems with Citi Bike docking. And yeah, that's their job as the operator, is to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And yeah, I think they could continue keeping up like smooth operations with this. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
I want to say it's great. First of all, I didn't say that before, but I've biked to school sometimes and I have to say the price and it's ridiculous. But I'm wondering if you guys have been able to do like either like small scale study of how many people currently use bikes as their main form of transportation, and if you've been able like to discern, let's say this program were to go to effect, how many people would switch to using that as their primary way to getting to school, right? Because even if it's $5, not everyone's gonna be able to bike 30-40 minutes to school. So I'm wondering if you have been able to do anything like that.
Yeah, I guess we specifically haven't done any surveying around like whether students would want to bike to school if they had this option. I think that's a great suggestion. I think that could be like maybe something that we include as we're like continuing to reach out to schools,
Yeah.
like seeing if they would share a survey for us and get some of that that data, because I think that would really support you know, this proposal if we can prove that, you know, a lot of students would opt for biking if they had that as a viable option. Yeah, thank you for that.
Also, I don't know the number of how many students are in New York, but I'm sure some hundreds of thousands,
I
right?
believe it's like a million.
Right, but if you come to Citi Bike and say, look, you're gonna have to subsidize over 1 million users, they might not be so down for that, but if it's a fraction of that, we're actually gonna take advantage, that they might be more open to doing. So also on that end, even if it's smaller than what you would think, might actually be beneficial.
Mhm.
And which way is that, that's including elementary school.
Yeah. it's not-
Right.
Right, right.
Right across the
Yeah.
board.
So we would only be looking at juniors and seniors and CUNY. Yeah. Mhm.
Still that could be that.
Yeah, I mean. Do you have anything
Any
else?
last questions?
Any other questions?
How come I didn't see something about this? I can't remember, something online recently. So whatever sort of publicity you're doing, it made its way to me at least. So-
Amazing.
So something's working somewhere.
Love to hear it.
That's good.
Thank you for the presentation. That's really good.
Thank you.
It's really interesting.
Thanks for having us.
And then to the committee, I want to throw out, because they have given us like a draft version of a potential resolution. Actually, have other community boards passed that resolution?
So I believe the first, so yes, but not officially, because none of the community boards that we presented to yet have had their full
Full
board
board
meeting.
meetings, yeah.
So we've presented at this, I think this is our fourth.
Yeah, I've been to Queens Community Board 1 and in the youth committee, well, it was the transportation committee that we presented to. They had said that it was like very likely that it would get passed, but you know, they'll.
That makes me think that bikes are like a hot topic on community board 7. And I need to involve the transportation committee in this conversation, or we will be persona non grata. They will, yeah. They will not appreciate not being a part of this conversation.
Yeah.
I should have thought ahead and actually just invited them tonight.
If it makes you feel any better, they wouldn't have come. No, because they're now already meeting twice with another committee with BCI as well.
Okay.
You know, I think that we've done this before, in this situation, when this has happened before, it can still go to full board if you did want to vote tonight, and then it could just become a discussion at full board. I know that full board is not going to have a packed agenda, other than the election matter, but now with people dropping out, it's gonna be smaller. If you did want to have that tonight, then that could go to, full board. It's not like a big faux pas here.
Okay, so technically we can go to full board. I would like to, but first I'll vote if we're going to, and if we do want to, we could obviously share everything in advance, and maybe even if you send us the deck, I would be able to share that with the transportation committee members, so they have more of the background and information, so they're part of the conversation.
Yeah, I'll share the deck and I'll attach the draft resolution as well, just so it's packaged and ready.
Terrific, that would be really good. So, I like the idea of bringing this resolution forward. It seems to me a really great program, but shall we vote on that? Will we bring a resolution for expanding Citi Bike for city students and CUNY students?
Sure. Yes.
Vote one.
No,
Do we have to vote
no.
the thing?
No, just
We see what the last line.
Oh, sure.
Are we voting by phone now, or are we raising hands? How's it going?
But hang on, we have some questions first.
What would the resolution look like? I mean, I have some, no, I know. I was trying to read from that. I could support looking into making bikes available to students, but I don't know that the Citi Bike, as we talked about it, is the program, because I have so many questions in my mind, because I can see the docking stations having to expand tremendously to accommodate an yet undetermined number of students signing up. I think biking should be made accessible for students.
Mhm.
No question about
Keeping in
it.
mind that
I don't know that this is the program.
it's worth keeping in mind that these people are paying for the membership, so they're providing Lyft with money that can be used for
Yeah,
expanding this program
I-
if needed, but we don't think that this is probably gonna be something that would be
And
needed.
this is all 5 boroughs, right? This is not just, I know obviously our scope here is Community 7, but.
Well, I mean, Citi Bike is in Manhattan, the Bronx and Queens and Brooklyn. So
So it's just not set.
4
Yeah.
boroughs, yeah.
And procedurally, Blanche,
Mhm, I'm
what we
hearing.
can vote on here is to put a resolution together, right? That's what we usually do. We don't usually have like the full detailed resolution in front of us. Because we can, we would, under normal circumstances, if we were writing from scratch, we would write it and edit it and then bring it to the full board. So as it's written by these people, these young people, we could still edit it, right? We
Yeah.
can write whatever resolution we
Yeah,
want.
it's not editing, but I am not sure that the Citi Bike connection with Lyft and Health First is the program that should be in place.
What's your concern?
But there-
I think like from my perspective, like this is building off of, the heavy lift is all the infrastructure, right?
Mhm.
Like they have the
Okay.
bikes, they have the model.
Okay, my concerns. I think it would expand the docking stations tremendously.
Mhm.
I have questions. You have your membership, your $5, whatever. Is this for 24 hours? You get your bike, you take it home.
No.
No.
We don't
No.
take it home.
No, you don't.
Okay. If there's someplace in the body of the proposed resolution should state that.
Why?
Do-
With,
So-
Is that how Citi
The
Bike
Citi
thinks?
Bike model doesn't work that way.
Maybe
what
we
is
should
what I'm
do
saying?
that.
I'm not in love with Citi Bike.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
If you have a yearly membership, could you hypothetically take the bike home?
And most
Yeah,
people
but you
get
would
away with
rack
that.
up a lot
I'm
of
confused.
No, you,
of-
because you get late
Accommodate
fees.
your bike.
Yeah.
They're late
Once
fees,
you
so they
get
defer
there.
it.
Yeah.
Assuming-
Yeah.
Go to another dock.
But I think that brings up a good point.
Take the bike from
Well,
one to
there
the
are
other.
all these docking stations.
They are where they are until you decide they should be someplace else.
I know. Or
Aren't
more,
they
or
always
more.
doing the?
They will
They
move them
move
That's
them
their-
around, yeah.
Either the organization itself or they will.
They move the
Pay-
docking
essentially pay people
stations
to-
around to
Right, right.
satisfy the need.
To move the bikes, not
The
really the
physical
stop.
bike,
Yes,
the
yeah.
stations go through like a whole approval process.
Exactly.
It's like a big, we
Right.
know it's a big fight,
Right.
maybe seven to
Yeah.
ever put a bike
Yeah.
station in.
So I wouldn't really be too concerned about, this program really directly affecting the number of docks available or, installed in,
Why
on
wouldn't
streets.
you be concerned? Can't you envision? I would want it to be successful. So
Yeah.
and if it's successful, it would of necessity expand the number of docks.
Well, so I
In
mean,
my mind.
yeah, right. I mean, Citi Bike is already used by over 100,000 people
Yes,
daily.
and double that amount,
I,
if you include students.
I don't know.
I
if
don't think
would.
16 and
I'm
17-year-olds
not
and
sure.
CUNY students would double.
I am
Citi
not sure.
Bike. Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
I think
Yeah.
it would increase the docks, because
Yes, it
the
would.
docks are spread out, right? Each dock has what, 30 bikes, but if you
Mhm.
get, if everyone, let's say 50% of the school is biking, you need to increase that to around 100 to 200.
Yeah, I don't
They're well
think
concerned
it's,
about
I don't think it's worth like, you can't write it off and say that, because several of us have brought that up. So like, I think it's a fair concern to consider, but I also think it's in the bigger scope, I mean, from my perspective, like, that doesn't. It doesn't make a neighborhood bad. It doesn't,
Right,
like, it's a benefit to a neighborhood. It's not a
Okay.
detraction to a neighborhood. So like,
Yeah.
if it did expand. And it's that many more cars off the street, like,
Yeah, that's a battle.
yeah, no, I understand, but like. There are advocates that are going to advocate for not losing parking spots and not losing, sidewalks.
Yeah.
And there are people who are gonna advocate for, like, it's a plurality of opinions here, so we can't say that one is right or wrong, there's just. but they're just there. So I hear your perspective, and I agree. I think it would likely require an increase, but I don't think that's a bad thing, like. Cities are dynamic, they change. Like,
Right.
No, this, everybody can vote, it's majority
of course,
whatever,
right.
and I'm voting no.
Okay, so, but do we have,
But I
before we
want
vote,
to
any
explain that
additional
no, it's not that I'm opposed to students having a facility
Right.
to facilitate their getting. It's just not the city bike concept as it exists, okay?
But I feel like there's no other alternative.
I don't
Unless
know,
you restart.
I don't know, I don't know.
yeah, that's my curiosity,
I
like if
don't
we
know.
wanted,
Looks like the government wants. to
like
start its
my
own bike
concern
program.
would be my priorities for students to have access to modes of transportation to school, so if that means expanding bike docks, so be it. But if
And you know what that means.
I do, I street park, I do know what that means, but I can't envision a whole nother system coming in. Like that's like an almost impossible task.
Competition or
Yeah,
certainly the DOE won't.
isn't gonna invest in a whole bike program.
Would be competition.
Yeah, maybe it is.
do you happen to know with the SNAP recipients and NYCHA residents, in instances if they didn't return a bike, or if there was any sort of, incident where they hit a pedestrian or something, where that liability lies, or, where that money comes from? Because I would also be concerned that, a 16-year-old student takes a bike and they don't return it,
Mhm.
and the city is the one that's footing that bill. Yeah,
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's
so
gonna
the,
happen.
And that's,
Yeah,
so I don't know, like the current model with SNAP and NYCHA,
Mhm.
how they've addressed that. I don't know if you know.
So I feel like I don't know for a fact, but I can make an inference that NYCHA and SNAP residents are only eligible for $5 a month memberships. They can't pay for an annual. And I feel like there must be a threshold of like, if there is a deficit by the end of the month, they can't get the next month, like $5 a month city bike.
I think it might be helpful for, maybe I'm speaking out,
Yeah.
so I apologize.
I don't know.
But if there's a way to maybe see if find that information for us, because I feel like that question might.
So I think like part of that question is like just how the city bike model works now. Let's say I
Right.
put it on my credit card and borrow a city bike and I decide to take it upstairs to my apartment, and keep it overnight for some unknown reason. And I'm on the annual thing, right? So it's not chicken over every minute.
So you still, yeah, so
What happens?
even with the annual membership, any type of membership with Citi Bike, you have unlimited 45-minute
Okay.
rides.
Mhm.
so you
Um,
can't take it in like
mhm.
at home and just leave it there.
You have to redock it.
Right,
Mhm.
and it is on your card, so,
Yeah.
if that happens, you do get fined.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, that's the
Yeah,
system.
no,
for-
no,
for,
yeah, no,
like-
I understand the current
Right,
system.
right.
I
Yeah.
just don't know how it applies to SNAP and NYCHA.
Yeah, I mean,
Residents and
I
stuff.
believe you're still putting your credit card on
Yeah,
it, and
you
if you,
still-
if you like violate
so
the terms,
you-
it's, you're still
Okay,
paying that fine, yeah.
I understand.
Cause you're still paying something. You're paying
Right.
$5 a month.
Yeah, and then.
Now
and then-
you're
Yeah,
taking that liability. I paid for it.
Exactly.
okay, I
It's like
understand.
I rented it.
Yeah,
But
it's just, you're not
DOE
paying
didn't
the
rent it, I
full.
did.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
I mean, it could be done through the school, but. I know
We
that.
just wondered how many kids can have credit cards.
Yeah, so it would ultimately have to be, so actually one of my friends actually recommended this to me the other day, because I was talking to them about the program or the proposal, and they were like, well, there are credit unions that do offer the $5 a month Citi Bike membership for opening an account. And if you have like this type of partnership with credit unions offering students their first bank account, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's.
Mhm. Right. So I think that still definitely needs to be like fleshed out, like how, it's not necessarily going to be students putting their credit cards down. It's going to be their parents
Oh,
putting
yeah,
their credit
yeah.
cards down.
Yes.
Which I think also creates some semblance of accountability as well, right? Like a parent is not gonna like.
Very happy if. they're
Yes,
And we
paying
do
fines, yeah.
like, it is one thing to think about it, but unbanked, like
Mhm.
right now, if you need to pay for something in the DOE, there is the option of, you don't have to pay with a credit card, right? If you have to pay for something at school, you can give them the $5 cash a
Mhm.
month. Because there are families that don't have any banking or any
Right.
access to credit cards. So you
Yeah.
wanna make sure they're included in the program.
Yeah,
Do you know if that is the same with NYCHA and staff residents? Cause I imagine it's a similar problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you do have to have, you do have to be banked because you have to have like either a credit or a debit card. It doesn't have to be a credit card. But yes, you do have to be, yeah, banked in some capacity. I guess there's a lot of forms of like banking now that you can get like a card through Venmo or Cash App these days.
Yeah, I would say a
Um,
lot of 16 and 17-year-olds do have
They have Venmo.
debit
Right.
or credit
Because
card.
Apple Pay's pushed itself into your pocket.
Right.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So, so there are mechanisms that exist that would cover folks who aren't necessarily banked in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's always gonna be people, unfortunately, no system is ever perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
True. Well, I could support a resolution.
So
So,
let's just, do we have more questions or should we take a vote on whether we're gonna put a resolution together?
Is it this resolution or?
We can, I'm gonna the way we've generally done resolutions in this committee is that we vote on doing a resolution and then I'll circulate a draft and we can all feedback for it until we bring it to full board so that the committee always votes again as board members and like everyone else at full board.
I support.
So
going
Michele,
forward.
let's vote on, I forgot the language, I haven't done this in so long, all in favor of writing a resolution
On what?
on expanding the Citi Bike program for students and CUNY students. I can't see.
Egor, is
Okay.
your hand raised in support?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All opposed? All not voting for cause? We're just committee members. Okay, so
Okay, let me just add,
our resolution to write a resolution passes.
okay, I could support a resolution asking for the appropriate whomever, I don't know who, what agency, be it DOE, whomever, to explore a program
Mhm.
that would facilitate students having access to bikes. And of course, with whatever, how much it is, $5 is fine. The term of usage would be fine. But to say Citi Bikes, which is existing. No, but to explore a program
Thank you for your feedback.
to facilitate students having this,
You're right.
What don't you like about
Ability.
Citi Bike specifically?
excuse me?
What don't you like about Citi Bike?
Well, we know Citi Bike. I don't know anything about Citi Bikes. I don't use it. But I think we are locked in saying Citi Bike. We are locked into an existing program that has docking spaces that have been agreed to in certain areas, certain numbers, length of usage of the bike. I don't know that a program for students should be locked into.
I just don't see them.
Well, that's okay. You don't see it. I don't see Citi Bikes. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback. So I will circulate this. We'll see if there's anything we want to tweak or edit. We definitely will have a lot of questions at full
Yeah.
board. Bikes are really a hot button. I did not know this until I joined the board. Bikes are like the hottest button issue on Community Board 7.
Walk down the street, that's why.
Right.
Get hit half the
I was
time.
very involved in like the Community Education Council, so I was steeped in like the education debates. I was missing this whole bike debate, but there's a lot of it. So,
May I ask, if you could just share like whatever documentation you have in addition to slides and stuff like that, and links that way, just gives us the most.
Yeah, I actually would like to, when we circulate this resolution to the committee members, to send you like a couple of questions that we anticipate
For
will
sure.
come up that we'd like to address.
Yeah, and we can address that and add more statistics and all of that. We can, I guess, when is the full board vote?
October 1st.
October 1, okay. Yeah, I think within 2 weeks we can answer your questions for sure.
Great, and if someone wants to come to the full board meeting, you're more than welcome to. It's always nice for people to do it.
Will it be in this stuffy?
No, thankfully, we have Kay's Church,
Oh, no.
Yes.
Is there an ability to join?
the church right there on 86.
On Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yes, okay.
You can join, the public can join by Zoom,
Okay.
correct, Max?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we will put that in our calendar.
Just reach out to me and we can coordinate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
We may be
amazing.
able to.
We're gonna put this here, so, Manhattan
It's the same day as
CBC. I know, that's okay though.
Or- What's that?
The next full board,
And what
because it's still on the usual cadence,
Probably gonna be
like public
6:30
first.
Just
Just like
Yeah, like Beverly's report, my quick report, then the public, and then we'll go to the, yeah.
Yeah, so it would make sense if you guys speak at public comment. And then we present it at the, like, when all the committees present their resolutions.
Yeah,
And then sometimes there's like a follow-up public comment again.
Sometimes, yeah, like during that particular agenda item, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it before where you could, it's kind of ours to decide,
right,
like I've seen it before where actually they wouldn't speak during the public session, they'd come and represent during the agenda item.
that makes more sense, like flow wise. Yeah,
But it's, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, but it could be.
that at 6:30?
yeah. But sometimes that's also dictated by, if they're booked until X time or they have to leave early, like then we could be amenable or kind of work with them. So feel free to reach out to me, and then Jesse and I are just putting together this full board schedule actually as we speak. So we can, talk about the timing
Is voting in October or November?
for elections.
Yeah,
It's this month in October.
I know the candidates will make their presentation.
Yes, that's right. We will have that on the agenda first, actually. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll vote in November.
Yes, correct.
I'm sorry, vote in November or October?
No, sorry, vote in October,
October.
and then we'll know like later that
Yeah.
night who won the
Who won.
positions.
Separate, like, our candidates. Yeah.
great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
Thank
all
you,
for
guys.
giving
Thanks for
us the
having
time to.
Thank you and good
Thanks,
luck.
yeah, thanks for your
Of
time.
course.
And the only other agenda item I had is I wanted to kind of flag upcoming issues that I anticipate will be involved with, and then just like open comment, anything anyone wanted to talk about. But there is
Thank you.
a reciting and restructuring of some of the schools in School District 3 coming up. They are actually, the big move is that Mont Hall 2, which is an in-demand middle school, which is on, I always say 108, but I think it's actually 106, will be moving and expanding to a school building further uptown, the PS 76 building. And it would become a 6 through 12 school. So,
The group that you had.
no, a different school moving. So that was one group, their move.
That's still gonna be District 3 school,
This will still be a District 3 school. So
and inside the CB7.
but
district?
so right now, Model 2 as it stands is inside CB7.
Right.
When it moves uptown into this new building, it will be in District 3, but outside of CB7.
Right.
When it moves into that building, shifts will happen in that building as well. So the other sub shift is that in that building, there's currently a District 75, a special education school. It's pretty small, so it is moving to another school building nearby. I forgot the outcome for TSIS 76 exactly. I do need to look into that. But the reason why I think it affects us is a middle school's moving out of the CB7 area, but more broadly, middle school and high school vaccine. First of all, middle school is based on a school district-wide thing. So any shifts in middle school affect all of school district 3, which geographically goes from 59th Street to 123rd Street. It has a little dog leg around the Columbia area. So at 110, it just goes east of Morningside Park to Fifth Avenue. All right, so that overlaps with Community Board 10, I believe, right? CB 10 is directly above us. But any shifts in the middle schools, it really doesn't matter anywhere in school district 3 affects all of school district 3. So it affects students in both community boards. So I do think it's something that's pertinent and relevant to us. Also the fact that this is going to include 9th through 12th grade, right? So high schools in New York City are open to all city students.
Right.
They can be, I don't know, I haven't heard any of the proposals for it, but just so that we know, like on the ground, high schools can have different models of admissions. Some can give geographic preference, or I suspect if you're a 6th grade through 12th grade for students already enrolled. Although I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But again, because high schools can be citywide, because middle schools can be district-wide, I think it does affect us in CB7. So I think it is something we should learn about and find out what's going on and maybe speak about depending on how we feel on it. So to start, I would reach out to School District 3, to the superintendent, and get some of his guidance, whether he wants to, that's Kamar Samuels, whether he wants to come and speak to us, whether I suspect Principal Lowe, who's the school that's moving and expanding, might want to come. I don't know if there's opposition from a particular school group. If there is, I would invite them to come and speak, but I do think it's something that we should put on our next month's agenda because it does affect our students in this district.
Sure, and that District 75 school population, they have something to say about.
Exactly, and
But they're moving.
And then District 75 draws citywide with some geographic preference as well, and that's usually about services where those
Right.
students end up. So you're right, like I would definitely invite the District 75 school, who's under a different superintendent,
Right.
to see if they wanted to.
I understand all this because I work for the Department of Education. And like this for a year, I was calling. for
Right, and
information.
I mean.
Finally, some of it
I would,
makes sense.
my goal is to try to find the people who are directly impacted, who
Yes.
would like to speak to it, because the District 75 school is moving into another building, that's the PSIS 180. That school committee might have something to say.
Yeah, that's right.
So
It's like a
I
ripple.
don't know right now exactly who's most concerned about it, but I do think it is a change that affects the students in our community, so it's worth finding out about and hearing about it.
Out of curiosity, do you know what's going on, like the school that's moving, what's taking its place? Do you know?
I don't know yet. I really,
For the moment, Michele building.
Oh, that could be another school too, right?
right, or it's a co-located school, so it could be an expansion of the school that it's co-located with. It's not that likely. There are significant problems with the floors that the middle school is on now. It's the top 2 floors. It's a very old building.
Is structurally.
They have not been able to solve the roofing problems on that building. So I think, and this is pure speculation, I do not know, but I was like, if they needed the time to properly fix that roof, this might be the window.
Is this cool? I'm sorry, I just,
Mod Hall 2,
I'm just curious.
yeah. Yeah, and it might be there in the proposal. So the reason why I brought it up is I just got across my desk. I need to and I'll forward this to all of you. The invitation that there'll be a public hearing about whenever there's moving the structures as a public hearing. So that's already on their agenda. I need to find this email, sorry, and the date for it. Because it means that this conversation is actually pretty far along already, if it's already there. Received notice joint public hearing. Yeah, October joint public hearing. So the public hearing is just telling us about it. So I should attempt to go to this to hear what the public has to say about it. October 21st and 22nd. I'll send this invitation to all of you as well. And I think that that's where we'll get the crux. So there'll also be like all the data. They have to present everything there. So we'll find out all that information, but then I anticipate. This is September.
Yeah.
We'll put this on our agenda for October to talk about.
But our next meeting would be in advance of.
Right, so I'll reach out to the superintendent and figure out who to invite in our meeting. Yeah. So truncation of, so. So truncation of 76 that is there right now. It's just not the way I expected it to go. From a K-8 school to a 6-8 school. Additionally, they would recite Mod Hall 2 into that building. And the merger of grades 6 through 8 of PS 76 with Mod Hall 2. An expansion of Mod Hall 2 from a 6-8 to a 6 through 12 school. It's basically merging the 76. And then the second part of that is the reciting. Reciting that 76 school, right, the M75 school to be co-located in 180. All right, it's dense, we'll figure it out, but I think it should be on the agenda.
Whatever happened with the last issue with this?
So I did speak to Sedalia over the summer to get like an update on what happened with the they are moved, they are in the new
They've
building.
moved.
They are in the building, but one of the things that is now being talked about at the time, you'll remember everyone was like, there's no way, it's too expensive, they can't have any outdoor space.
Right.
They are exploring maybe building some outdoor space for them.
Very nice.
Yeah. I will ask Sedalia, I asked her to write me the update. She was like, it's too much. I have to just tell you, but I think now I can get a written update. They did get some more program or facilities like capital stuff that they wanted in that building. That would be good. There was more assurances around like the emergency exits, remember, were concerning. They did put some amended systems in for those emergency exits. One thing that will be interesting now that we're in September is how many students stayed with it and moved into the new location, right? Whether families opted out at that point.
Or
because
maybe more because they have space for more.
Correct. So I'm interested to see what happened with enrollment and what's going on. Like, so I will definitely ask them for an update on what's going on with that school building. Yeah. Anything else we want to discuss the committee or anything maybe coming up for the committee?
You know, I heard something, and sort of vague, it was a news item, that about 20% of the students in roughly ages 14, 15 did not return to school since
COVID.
yeah. Is that
I don't know. I can't speak to the specifics. I do know, obviously, GOE enrollment across the board, across all age groups is down significantly.
yes? And it's something, should we be concerned about it? Should we raise it and should we? I'm not saying we should, but my question is, should we? But I coupled that with these youth gangs are in that age group.
Yeah.
And more and more and more reports daily that you hear about a group of youngsters 14, and you know, the news group estimate the ages, but it's about the same age group of the youngsters who are not attending school. I'm making the link in my conspiratorial mind.
Right, like DOE does like a lot of enrollment stats. So for the public system, we can find out more about it. The private system is harder because there's
it
no
was the public
centralized.
system.
So you saying that those gangs,
Well,
kids who used to be
no,
in
I'm
school
making
and
a connection.
yeah,
Yeah,
just because you have a
making
group
connection.
doesn't mean a gang, that's an
No,
entirely.
I'm making connection because it's the same age group. And that age group out on the streets with nothing to do, are they falling into this pattern of, mugging in the groups in Central Park, and the head of the Central Park precinct who was here talked about that age group, and it just bothered me. And I wondered if, as a committee, if we should do anything or even think about it or explore it further.
yeah, right now it's pretty speculative because
Yeah.
also the other thing I do know that DOE enrollment is down in general. I
Yeah.
do not know if it is specifically to that age group.
That's-
actually think
that's-
that-
I heard the age group, it may not be, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know initially the enrollment losses were at a younger age group than that. But maybe that's.
Yeah.
That's, so,
And that's historically what happened or used to happen.
Yeah.
Remember before I had kids, a long time ago. We heard, you stay in New York until your kid reaches school age. And then you move out.
Oh, that's what happened to me. Yeah.
that's what happened with COVID a lot, that there was a significant number of families with young students moved out of the
Uh-huh.
city at the time, so.
I mean, it's been sort of the word over the years, ninth grade, which would be
High school.
15,
Yeah. 14,
that's,
15.
that's the tricky age.
Mhm.
So it's all sort of coming together.
Maybe. But you're right, the DOE has.
They have like loads of enrollments.
And they knock
So
on
we can-
doors too,
if that
if the
age
kid
group
doesn't go to
is-
school, they send somebody out there to knock on the door.
Yes,
Knock
yes, they
down.
do, they call you.
Yeah.
I know it. They do, they leave a
I know,
voicemail.
yeah, back in the day, it was an automated system, so if you're faster than your parents, you got that.
Yeah. It still is the automated system.
Now we get emails. and texts.
Okay, then they really, okay.
Go right
But
to-
we can look to see if that age group has like a decline in. In
If there's
school.
any connection, or should we make it, as I said, I
And
have that kind of.
I didn't know that there was a spike in like gang
Yeah.
activity around that age group. Is that something the Central Park
Yes.
precinct just reported out?
They had shared at the last full board that
Yeah,
the incidents in Central Park, which were roughly on par with what they were last year, that it seemed like a majority of the incidents were perpetrated by, I don't know if that's the right word there, but by younger people. And it seemed like there was also.
Groups of, not
Yeah,
gangs.
correct.
See,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
well, I just.
I don't mean to.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Particular, but
No.
gang means something different.
Yeah.
Group of-
Yeah, it was just groups of the COs.
Felt the age group was
Something
coming
that
out.
just like that age
In
group,
that age group.
they seem to be coming from that, but I don't think it was like an organized thing necessarily, not in the sort of traditional sense of a gang.
Uh-huh.
All right, yeah, that's definitely worth looking into, and I will start by the enrollment data, because just because I know that exists there.
But of course, I think you're, like, if people are moving out, I think of course.
Right.
Right,
There's fewer.
if they're all in Westchester,
Yeah.
they're not affecting.
They're mobile.
Is there anything else we think we want to like highlight or flag coming up? All right, and we have a very easygoing agenda, so anytime something occurs to any of you all, like out in the wilds, just shoot me an email and I'll be like, yep, we should add that to the agenda, that's fine.
Okay.
Kevin's traveling for business today, I'll be with us next month.
All right.
I think that's it.